What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Cervantes Podcast. Joining me today to discuss relationship deal breakers, red flags, cheating, and a couple of hot topics in social media right now is nursing major studying at Hofstra University, Sylvie Grand-Pierre. How are you doing today, Sylvie?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I wanted to have this episode because I'm noticing in the past couple of weeks there has been a lot of celebrity breakups and divorce. Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey, Tia Mowry and Corey Hardrick, Tom Brady and Giselle Bundchen, and the list seems to be going on and on. Also, oftentimes amongst my peers, whether it's at work or when I was in undergrad, or just talking on the phone with friends, I hear people speak frequently about what they're willing and not willing to accept in a romantic relationship. So I wanted to ask you, what is your number one relationship deal breaker or top three?
I think my number one relationship deal breaker, because I just got a relationship literally in the summer, it might have.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
I was
So
gonna
I'm
ask
ready.
you.
I'm ready to discuss. I'm ready to talk about
Okay.
it. Um, I think one of them is like lack of communication, like someone who cannot communicate, which I've noticed like a bunch of patterns, like going through situationships or like talking stages. A lot of people can't communicate like their feelings or like how they're feeling. So that's like one of my number ones. Another one is being a dry texter. Cause
That's
I know,
so
it's you.
annoying. That's so annoying. Because it's like, oh, if you're not interested, then why should I? Why should I be?
Yeah. And I think like the way that I'm like a really talkative person. Like I just love to talk and like tell you about my day, what's going on. So like if I'm like, hey, this happened to me, you're just like, good, nice. So happy for you. Like I don't personally, I just kind of do it.
No. And is that not to like spoil your business,
Mhm.
but dry texter when they're trying to get to know you, or is this already in the relationship?
I think both. But what I've noticed is some people will kind of put on a front and be like, yeah, I'm like consistent with it. And then you get in a relationship and consistency just drops. Like,
Woo!
yep.
No, that's not good. So they were lying. But yeah.
I don't want to say lying, but like not completely truthful.
No, yeah, and I've heard people say like, oh, like I don't like to text, I don't like to talk on the phone. I'm like, so how do you talk to your boyfriend? How do you talk to your
No, like
girlfriend?
I hear that all the time. Like, I'm not really a texter. I'm not really a talker or phone call. Like, then how do you have conversations? Just like face to face. Like, I can understand having conversations face to face, but people are always so busy, so you're not going to see them every single day.
Right.
So,
You know,
mhm,
that's so interesting. No, yeah, I think for me it would be the same. Like, you know, be be fun, have a sense of humor,
yeah,
communicate. I would like you to be well educated, and that doesn't necessarily mean like you have to have a doctorate, but just like read or like
be
be
able to have
interested.
an intellectual conversation. Like,
Yes,
if I'm like talking about the planets, and you're like, oh, Pluto. No, because Pluto is not like that cannot
exactly,
happen.
exactly.
But
That's so true.
I'm so glad you brought up the humor thing because I know humor is subjective. Like everyone has their own like what makes them laugh.
Right.
But I really, on the bottom of my heart, I cannot be with I cannot be with someone who can't make me laugh because we've been laughing since
No.
we started and I can't.
Exactly.
Like,
And also
like
it's like this world is so tough. Like I'm laughing, but it's true. This world is so tough, especially like right now. It's always been tough. So you want to be able to go home
mhm,
after class or after a long day of work and be with somebody that like stimulates you intellectually, like we said, but also we can wind down, not take everything so serious with, and like joke about things, whether it's I don't know, black culture, social media, what happened at let me tell you about what happened today. Like
yep,
this so we want
exactly.
somebody like that. You don't want it to be like, okay, I had a long day and I have to have
Mhm.
a whole serious conversation. Like what?
Exactly. And
So
then if you make a joke, it falls flat and then we're just sitting there awkward. Like, no, I can't.
no, and then it's like, okay, your partner's not funny, so that means your kids might not be funny.
Exactly. Oh my God. God forbid my kids aren't funny. I can't. No.
I saw that on Twitter. Like, my kids can't need to be funny, and they need to be good looking.
Exactly.
In an interview on the dating app Bumble's YouTube page with singer-songwriter and choreographer Tiana Taylor and model and entrepreneur Lori Harvey, back in August of this year, the two ladies discussed how they both think Lori has grown in the past few years, what Lori wishes she knew earlier, and how to look for the right signs in a relationship. Tiana asked Lori what red flags she noticed in past relationships. Lori responded, if you're too close to your exes, that's a red flag. Do you agree? Are you cool with your exes, or do you normally cut off all communication after you break up?
I feel like that statement, it depends on how the relationship ended. Because I know a lot of people, their relationships ended because of like cheating or like lying and it wasn't like simple white lies, like a big lie.
Okay.
And I feel like if that happens to you, I don't necessarily think you should be in contact with that ex, or like if they put you through traumatic things, or if it was a really toxic situation. I don't believe in ever if they hit you up and I'm like, hey, I'm just wondering how you're. No, 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 no.
Don't do
Don't
it.
even respond. Don't even
Don't
read
do
it. Just delete it. No,
No, I
don't put
agree.
yourself through that. But for me, my relationship ended. It wasn't anything like too serious. I think it was more like
Like an
we're on two different
amicable.
paths. It was very amicable. We're on two different paths, and one was really ready, one wasn't. So it's like, why waste our time trying to force something? Like, you can never force a relationship with someone. I don't care how much these people are like on Twitter, on TikTok, stream like, oh, keep on doing this, and it's gonna. No, sometimes you really have to be like, it's not working. We can't we can't force it.
Yes, like I think God rest her soul, but I feel like Aaliyah when she put out the song "Try Again," if at
Hmm?
first you don't succeed, try again. I think that kind of like people went too far with that. Like, if you don't, yes, you should pursue, like for
Hmm.
fellas, like you should pursue your lady if you like have a crush or whatever. But it's like if she's not showing you the same, or girls too, if you're trying to pursue something, but it's not working out, try something else. Like, don't try again. Don't try again with that same person. Try again with somebody else.
Exactly. If they're not
And
willing to put in effort, don't force it. Just you will find someone. Everyone has that person out there for someone. So don't try to force it with someone who doesn't want to try with you.
yes, and I was just talking to a friend, um, and she's kind of like nervous. She feels like time's running out. Like, oh, like where's my person? And it's like you're so young. Like you have so much time. You have your 20s, your 30s. You can people finding love at 60, 7 years old. Some may argue that's too late, but I think it's never too late. And you don't want to. I think you should enjoy your youth. Like date, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like, because
Mhm.
I think being single, it's like, oh, like it gives you time to focus on what you want, so that when you do jump into the dating scene again, it's easier. And I
Yeah.
think it's kind of like it's cliche, but like you're one heartbreak closer. I believe
Oh my
that.
God, that was so quote. Yeah, I use that quote all
Yes,
the time. I agree
yes,
with you because I used to have that same mindset where it's like, I need to like start dating like now because I feel like when we think of our future, we kind of plan our lives out already. So it's like, I want to be married by like by the time I'm 30, by the time I'm 28. And if I'm 19, that gives me like 9 years. Like, how many stable relationships will I have? So I think a lot of times people think in terms of the future and not like in the present, or they're focused on finding someone who they can grow with, who will love them and all that they are. I think it's more like time is passing, so I need to find anybody. And I think that's why
right.
people's standards are so low because they think I need to just have someone, but that's not true.
No, keep your don't have your standards too high, but
Yeah.
keep them reasonable.
Hmm.
And I think also with some people, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think some people like how like when you're looking for a house like on Zillow and you have too
Hmm.
many filters and then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's only two houses fit what you want. I think people need to uncheck some of those boxes. Like, does he really need to be 6'5"? Does she really
Yeah.
need to have a small waist? And like, can you are you willing to what's the word, like negotiate your dating preferences? And maybe it might be a little bit easier if you open things up, as opposed to, no, she has to look like this and have
Yes.
this type of body, or he needs to look like this and have this, make six figures and buy me a Birkin or whatever it is. So I think people need to like uncheck some of those boxes, and I don't want to say lower your standards, but like just be more
Adjust
open
them.
minded,
Yeah. Be
adjust
open
them
minded. Hmm.
for
Because
sure, and
I
maybe that can
totally
help.
agree. I totally agree. I think when people focus too much on, I want this, I don't want that, then you kind of lose track. Like, are you looking for love, or are you just looking for like the perfect person all around? Me,
Right.
I had to do that too. Like, I always thought, oh, I'm gonna date like someone who's like 6'2" or like extremely tall, blah blah blah. He said this and that. But my last relationship, I'm pretty sure my ex was just 5'9". I didn't really care. Like when it comes down to, like, you don't care. Like when you think you like really like, I want to pursue a relationship with you, I want to be with you. It doesn't really matter. Like you just
It
look for the
shouldn't
good
matter, you
qualities.
know?
Yeah.
That's so true. And going back to the exes conversation, I think I think it is a little weird if like you're in a relationship and you're best friends with your exes. I think you can be
Mm-hmm.
cordial and cool, but I don't think you need to be best friends.
As friends.
And I
Yeah.
think why that clip went viral is because that she did that interview, I think, right after they split, her and Michael B. Jordan. So it's like, was he close to his exes? It
Mm-hmm.
begs to question some things, and maybe that's why things didn't end well. Also, she brought up a point too that like she almost got married very young, and I think that's why she moves the way she does, and like when she's done, she's done, and
Done.
we see her go from person to person to person. So I think that's good. Like she realized, oh, okay, wait, hold up, I'm this age, about to get married. Ooh, let's rewind,
Yeah.
and let me figure out, okay, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and I like that she's not willing to put up. I don't know her personally, but it
Yeah.
seems
He's just Lori Harvey's best friend on the side, just letting us know.
it appears that she's not willing to put up with things that she doesn't care for, and she's kind of moving stereotypically like a man. We see men do that. Oh, I'm not. This situation doesn't serve me. On to the next girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing that with men, so I think I kind of like. I kind of respect that.
Me too. And I saw that because a lot of people were like, oh, like she goes from men to men to man. But like people do that all the time. Realistically, if we think about it, people do that all the time. You have rebounds, you have like random hookups. People do that all the time. And I think it's really just human nature that if you're not finding someone who's fitting with you, helping you better yourself, helping you grow, you're going through a lot of problems, why put up with it? Goodbye, you're
Why?
done. Let me find someone else who will be able to give me what I need and like what I want and love me properly.
Yeah, like I'd rather be happy single than miserable with in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are like, oh, like, I'm lonely, I want to be with somebody, but it's like, and they look at celebrities or they just look at like relationships on Instagram, like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so perfect, I want that. We don't know what goes behind closed doors, and I
Yeah.
feel like we always say that, but people don't like get it. Like we don't know the Tia and Corey Hart, like Black Love, Tom Brady and Giselle, beautiful supermodel.
Mm-hmm.
He's killing it in the NFL, has like 6 rings, I think. Um, so it's like just because somebody appears to look good doesn't mean like there's domestic abuse, there's cheating. Sometimes it's emotional cheating. Like we never
Yeah.
know. So I think sometimes people need to like focus on you. Don't look at
Yeah.
others.
Don't idolize too many relationships.
Yeah, because you never know.
You
You
never
never
know what's going
know.
on.
Many people have debates on social media on the talking stage, if it should be eliminated entirely and how long it should last. How long should a talking stage be before you make the relationship official, in your opinion?
In my opinion, not long at all. I'm sorry. I'm so over the talking stage. Personally, do I believe it exists? No, I don't believe it exists.
Okay,
Only
so
like because I'm older now. I guess when you're younger, a talking stage can exist. But when I think of talking, it's almost like dating. If we think about it, you're getting to know a person, and that's why, like, I always believe dating someone doesn't mean you're in a relationship with someone. Like, you can go out on dates and talk it out. See what they're into, if you like it, if the vibe, if the dates are going great, and you're like, okay, I want to pursue this as like a long time relationship. Then you have a conversation if they're like, yes. Then you're boyfriend, girlfriend, 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 boyfriend, boyfriend, partner, and partner. If they're like, no, then you're not together. So for
right.
me, the talking stage should last maybe a month tops. Like, what do like,
Okay.
let's be honest, what do we have to talk about? What's your favorite color? How many siblings do you have? Like, we can do this on a date.
Right. Okay, that's true. So it's like instead of doing the talking stage, which is like kind of like immature, like high school,
Mm-hmm.
let's just go on dates and do all that talking in person on a
Yeah.
date. Yeah, that makes sense. And going back to Lori Harvey conversation, people, what you said about the double standards, men do that too.
Mm-hmm.
One, and all these men that she's been linked with reportedly doesn't mean that she's sleeping with them.
Yeah.
It could have just meant like one date. Like I forgot who it was, but somebody went on like one date with someone, and the shade room was like, "Oh, they're in a relationship," And I think the
Oh,
girl was like, you know
was
who?
it Lauren London where she was spotted with someone and they were like, oh, so soon after Nipsey's death. But first of all, I don't even think they were on a date. I think they were just like hanging out. But the way
Yes,
people were so like quick to jump to assumptions. So.
her, and I think Christina Milian and Dave East, I think they were
Mhm.
seen at a strip club together, and people were like, oh, they're in a relationship, and they're both like, nah, like we just friends, like
Yeah.
chill. And I think that's a whole nother conversation about like social media and
Mhm.
like a pretty girl and a good looking guy, like, oh, they're holding hands, they must be in a relationship. But also it's Lori Harvey, yeah, just because she's seen with someone doesn't mean that she's sleeping with them. She could just be going on a date and he's dropping her off at home, which he should be doing. But I think yeah, I think you shouldn't talk for too long because then one person could be fully invested and be taking it serious and only be talking to you, and the other person is talking to like five other people.
And that's my problem because a lot of time people are like, oh, we're just talking. But what does that mean to the person? Like, have you ever had a conversation be like, what does the talking stage mean to you? Or what does we're just talking mean to the other person? Because one person could be like, we're talking to be in a relationship. And the other person can be like, we're just talking, but I can talk to other people. I can just do whatever I want. Like no one has
Right.
ever fully defined the talking
Like
stage as like
what is
what are we? Yeah.
it? What are we? How many dates do you think? How many dates would you go on and be like, okay, with the same person? Okay, are we gonna be in a relationship or is this just for fun?
I think 4 or 5 is like the perfect amount of dates to then have the conversation. Are we just like, I don't want to say talking. I don't know what the other word is, but are we just dating or do you want to be in a relationship with me for the foreseeable future? Because I think the first date is like awkward. Second date, you're still getting to know someone. Third, we're getting farther. And then fourth or fifth is when you're like, okay, we've gone out 3 times. We don't know this. Maybe you guys maybe did a little kiss or something. I don't know. But yeah,
Right.
so like I think those are
Okay.
the perfect amount.
And do you when you guys are making the relationship official, do you normally bring that conversation up, or do you wait for him to?
Everyone's gonna know all my tricks. Okay,
Or do
so
you feel, or maybe maybe we can make it more general. Do you think men should bring that conversation up? They should definitely ask the question, but should they bring the conversation up?
I I don't mind being like really specific. Me personally, I think I tend to bring the question up more because I just want to know. Like me, I don't want to waste my time. Like
Right.
that's my problem. Like I don't want to waste my time. So I will be like, hey, like, what are we? Like not like that, obviously. But I'm like, hey, like we've been going out for so and so long. Do you see me like being your girlfriend? What do you think? Blah blah blah. And that's how I kind of approach it. I don't think like a certain gender should have to do it, but I feel like whoever is ready to pose the question, or you can just I
Okay.
feel like anybody can be like, what are we? Like, what are we doing? Are we wasting each other's time? So I think it's just up to whoever feels bold enough to be like, hey, like, what are we doing?
That's a good point. Yeah, if we're talking heterosexual relationships, if the woman waits, she may wait forever. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe you should ask, sis. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And then there's some people who argue like, what is talking? Talking's not real.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Me.
talk. And I think sometimes our generation, we it's a lot of texting,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna need y'all to like, we need to like talk on the phone. We need to
Mm-hmm.
FaceTime. But then some people are like, oh, that's too vulnerable. I don't want FaceTime.
Yeah, I
But
feel
something in person, either on the phone or in person.
a lot of people, like I talk to my friends and people that I've known, and they're like, oh yeah, we've been talking for like 2 months, not like a FaceTime call yet or anything. I'm like, 2 months, no FaceTime, no meeting face to face. Like, what are you guys basically doing? Just friends, but not friends. Like, I feel like it's such like a awkward like thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, and it's like, yeah, talking on the phone is good because then you can like have a conversation. It's so important that like, can this person keep a conversation? And then in person is good because some people are great on the phone and great over text, but then the vibes aren't there when you meet in person. So that's important. Like that's why you got to go on dates. What are some red flags for you?
Red flags. Okay. So let me think. What are some of my red flags? Okay, I said deal breaker was dry texture, but I don't think that's necessarily a red flag per se.
Right.
But I think a red flag. I think the way that he treats. Oh, it just came to me. If we're on a date and like it's time to tip, or like the way he treats people who are like the waitresses and waiters,
Right.
how they treat that person. It is very telling to me if I'm out with like a group of people or with somebody and the way they're acting towards the people who are essentially like they're serving us like our water, they're like being nice to us, like taking our orders, like they're doing things for us. Like, how do you treat that person?
Yes.
It tells. I think it's a very telling sign.
Yes. And I think, yeah, for me too, like if a girl is, I don't like elitism. I don't like, you
Yeah.
could be bougie, but don't be like
Turning
elitist.
your nose up at people and stuff like that. Like, I can't.
Like, oh, you do, oh, or you do,
Mhm.
like, no, like that's a turn off because it's like, I always tell people like, one day life is very funny, and the way inflation is going up in this country, you could be homeless too.
Yeah.
So don't turn your nose up at people and be careful how you speak because yeah. So life is very funny. So don't do that. And what are some green flags for you? What's something like, oh, this is a potentially
Mhm.
really good partner.
I think green flags are like, I'm a very big family person. So, like,
Okay.
when they have a good relationship with their family, and I'm not saying like people who have bad relationships, because it could be something like their family did something completely wrong to them and they don't want to be in contact. But I think if I know people who like they've told me about their life and then I see that their family relationship is good, like it's a green flag for me. So I'm like, okay, like you're cute with your sisters, like you hang out with your brother, you take him here. Like I think it's oh, like you're sweet. I love that.
Right. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're a family person. That's attractive to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And people like I hope I'll hear girls say like, oh, he treats his mom well, so he'll treat me well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's good. I think a
Yeah.
green flag for me would be yeah, I'd say family, have a sense of like pride in your culture,
Yes,
you
definitely.
know?
Because I'm Haitian and I'm also Mexican, but like I love like I will rep my country to the
Yes.
day that I'm put in the ground. Like I'm always gonna be like, oh, you're so and so, I'm this, and like I love this, and I love my culture. Like people are very prideful about their culture. I love it. Like you're in love with where you come from, your roots, your ancestors. It's
Yeah,
just
like
good.
some people try to like dial it down and like, oh, let me try to assimilate, let me try to
Mm-hmm.
be like this. But it's like, no, be proud of where you come from if you do know where you come from. And you don't have to be the same culture as me, but like have something so that you could teach me something, and that's attractive too, like learning something new. So for sure. British actor John Boyega has been in conversation on social media recently about his dating preference being black women, specifically dark skinned black women. In an interview with The Breakfast Club back in September, he admitted, I like my women black. I need me a black woman. They fine as hell. Some people were upset and others strongly agreed with him. Is it important for you to date and end up marrying a black man, or are you open to dating and marrying someone who is not black?
That's a really great question because I had just seen that on Twitter and TikTok. Everybody was talking about it.
Right.
Me personally, I don't have a type. Like, I feel
Okay.
like I fall more in love with like the personality, and like obviously looks are important. Like if you're attracted to someone, but ever since I was little, like I've liked everybody, like no matter what
Okay.
they look like. But me, I can definitely understand where people are coming from in the sense like where your ethnicity is from. So like let's say you're Cuban, right?
Jamaican and Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican. Okay, I knew because I was like, I know he's from Latin America. I was trying to figure out if it's Cuba or Puerto Rico. Myself Puerto
Yes.
Rican. But like let's say like growing up with like your Puerto Rican heritage, and it would be nice to find someone who's Puerto Rican because you can relate to them on the cultural level. Like me
Right.
growing up, like if I could find like a Haitian guy and date them and like marry them, like I feel like that would be so great because we'd have a shared culture. Like I'm like, you know what that means, or if I say some things in Creole or French and like you understand, and it's not like there's a gap. And I feel like when people who date outside their ethnicities, there's somewhat of a gap, and they're like, so how do I like bring them together for them to understand where I come from? But me personally, I feel like I can do that. Like I have no problem. Like I love like learning about new cultures. And I think what the problem is, people are scared that like if they do introduce someone outside of their ethnicity or race, they're gonna be judged from
Yeah,
like their family or outside people, and like it's not gonna work. I don't know if you know. Have you seen 90 Day Fiance?
I've heard about it. Yeah, I've watched only a couple episodes.
Yeah, so you see how most of the couples are like from different ethnicities, like different cultures. And what I've noticed most of the time is they're really judgmental of each other's cultures. They're like, oh, like I don't understand why we have to do this, or like why they do that, or like why is she or why is he, blah blah blah. And I think that's where like the disconnect is, because if you can't find someone who's going to be respectful towards your culture and like what you do, then don't be with them. But I have no problem dating outside my race, my ethnicity, whatever. Whoever comes fine is like, oh, like you're good. Like I'll teach you
Right.
everything. But I can definitely understand where people who simply date inside their race or ethnicity are coming from.
I like that, and I agree. I think yeah, because there are some people who are very judgmental.
Hmm.
Oh, why do you do that? Why do you practice that? Or why do you eat that? Or that smells. And it's like, what? That's my favorite food.
Yeah.
Or you guys are all speaking Spanish, or you're speaking Creole, and then your partner's over there like, oh, like are they talking about me? Like speak English, and it's like what? So you definitely there are judgmental people, but there are people who are willing to learn, like you, like oh, teach me how to speak Creole, teach me how to make this dish, and so I can impress your mom or dad. So there's definitely people that are willing to learn, and I think yeah, I'm definitely open to dating outside my race, but I do get a little hesitant when I went to a PWI and I have
Mhm.
conversations with certain people, and I'm just like, I think I'm better off being with a black woman or a Latina woman or Afro Latina woman, just so that I don't have to explain certain things like, what are those swirly things in your head? Oh, those are waves, not swirly things.
That's what I was like, what are waves? Bro?
Or like,
I
oh, is that a head wrap? No, it's called a do
mm,
rag. Like just little stuff like that.
and I think a lot of it comes from like in your own family. Like if you look at your family, my family, like all Haitian, all Mexicans just dated inside their ethnicity. So it's more like, I would love you. Like I think it's the old generation mindset, like I would love for you to find like a nice like Haitian guy and date it. My mom
Yes.
says this all the time, and marry him and like have Haitian babies, because it's more like I feel like going back to what we were talking about, like the pride thing, like pride in your country. It's like, oh wow, like we're all together the same. So I think it's also like your family like influences, like hey, whatever. But I think a lot of people are hesitant, like you said, like you're scared that someone might judge you, or like it would be too much explanation to the point where it's like you're not understanding me, or like I feel like you're gonna judge me, and you can be very vulnerable when that happens. I've been through that, and I've been like, oh, like it kind of hurts.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's very sensitive. Like people take their
Mhm.
culture seriously. And yeah, like there's families that like want you to like continue the culture, continue the ethnicity or whatever. But this country, this world is very mixed. So
Yes.
it's not uncommon like to see interracial relationships. But I was surprised for people to be upset at him because I feel like it's good. Like I appreciate he's speaking so highly of black women and wants to date a black woman,
Yeah.
because a lot of times we hear the opposite from certain people, some certain black men, uplifting other types of women. So I don't know why people are upset, and I think there's nothing wrong with having a dating preference. It's just
Don't bash
don't
other preferences while you're doing it. That's the
yes.
number one thing. Like you can have a preference, but don't be like, oh yeah, I only date this certain type of person because these certain type of people are horrible, ugly, nasty, gross. Like don't do that. Just
Right.
say that this is what's attractive to you. And me,
Yes.
because I'm a dark skinned woman, when I heard his comments, I was like, John Boyega, you can hit me up whenever you want. Like I'm right here.
Right. It was like, oh
I'm only
wow, like
19, but I'm ready. Like,
no, yes, it's like you I respect that.
mm,
And it's one thing for a black man to say, "Oh, I only date black women." All right, good, proud of you. If he was a white man saying he only dated white women, that's a whole different conversation,
yeah.
and people should be upset about that because we know the history and all that is implied with that. But he's black wanting to date black women. There's nothing wrong with that. So I asked my followers on the Cervantes Podcast Instagram page a couple questions regarding relationship deal breakers. A lot of questions that I asked Sylvie. So here are the questions and results. The first question. So when I told people I'm doing an episode on this topic, they said one person said, so I asked them, what are you not willing to tolerate in a romantic relationship? One person said cheating, cheating and
Mhm.
violence. Anyone who is too cocky and doesn't know how to be humble, thinks they're always right. I definitely agree with that. Knowing when you're wrong and knowing when to apologize is very important.
Very important. Oh my God, I've had countless arguments where it's like,
It's
just
like,
say you're
why are you
sorry.
gaslighting me?
Yeah,
You know you're
stop
wrong.
gaslighting me.
One girl said lack of communication. One guy said distrust, and one girl said I will not tolerate being a second option.
Mm,
That's a big one. That's a big one. So the first question I said, can you forgive cheating? 94% of people said no. 6% of people said yes. How do you feel about that? Can you forgive cheating?
Absolutely not. I say this to my friends all the time in our group chats. We're always bringing up like topics about these. Actually, me personally, I think if you cheat, I will never look at you the same way. Even if you're like my best friend of like 20 plus years, if you tell me that you've cheated, I will never be able to look at you in the same way. Because I always think about cheating is more like you went out of your way to find someone else and be with them when you have a partner. And I feel like at that point, if you didn't want to be with your partner, or if you wanted to be with someone else, just break up with them. Just to have the
Oh,
courage. I think cheating is so cowardly. Have the courage and tell the person, I don't want to be with you anymore. I can't be with you. Instead of betraying someone's trust, literally the love that they poured into you to just go and get it from someone else. Like I think that's so heartbreaking. Like how in your like right mind can you do that to someone, knowing that they're waiting for you? They're like they're there for you. Like I
that's
don't know.
terrible, especially when you guys have kids together.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like that's
Levine, I didn't want to name drop him, but
ooh.
I was.
No, like that's really sad because it's like it's already messy.
Mhm.
So when there's kids involved, it makes it even more messy because it's like,
More
oh,
messy.
like the son may be looking like, oh, it's okay to cheat on women, and the daughter may be looking like, oh, it's okay, like, oh, all men are the same, and it's like, no, like that's not okay, because people see things what happened at their house, happen in their home, and they may think like, oh, my parents did it, so it's okay, right?
Yeah.
And they may be willing to tolerate things, and it's like, no, like that's not good. That's
Don't
not
cheat.
okay, and
Just
cheating is
break
very
up.
cowardly. Yeah, and it's like, why want the stress of like having a side chick and then having a girlfriend or wife? Just be single and you can have whoever you want.
Exactly.
Like, to me it makes more sense to be single. So I don't know, I never understood that. The next question I asked, do men have high standards? 54% of people said no, 46% of people said yes. How do you feel about that? Do you think men have high standards?
See, this is such a tricky question because I don't want people to be like, but
Right. Don't
everyone has
don't
their own
attack
opinions.
don't attack Sylvie. This is one
Please don't attack me.
person out of many people.
Yeah. But I think everyone has high standards, but I feel like for men, again, I'm not a man, don't identify as one, so I don't really know like the culture and stuff like that. But I think from the outside looking in, outside perspective, that they may have higher standards than women, only because I've seen like women, or like the friends that I know who identify as women or women, um, they take kind of like they see it more like, oh, I can fix this guy, like like even if he has these bad like qualities, like I can kind of try to help him grow. And when I talk to my male friends about like dating and stuff, they're more like, I'd rather find someone who I don't really have to like help go. Like they're obviously like my guy friends are nice people, guys, but they're more like, growth is let's do it together, but like why do I have to like build you up from step one? Like I expect more to you have like good qualities than just we'll have to start like from the beginning.
Mm, like, you feel like your male friends want the girls that they date
Hmm.
to already be like, self love and like
Yeah.
therapy, mental health in check. Mm.
But I think part of that, like you said, the therapy mental health is because like we don't talk a lot about men's mental health. So I think what they've seen of like the generational trauma and like the things that they've seen in our family, where it's like let's say like you have a mom who's been doing everything, like cooking, cleaning, helping you with your homework and stuff like that. So you're looking to your mom like she's the ideal woman, like she has everything that's going on. And so when I grow up, I need to find someone that's kind of like the, or not even a mom, like a female like influence around you who
Right.
have been like those female influences, but they don't know what goes on past the surface level, which is like she might be struggling with depression or like all these things are taking a toll on her. So what they've seen growing up is like, oh yeah, I need this one to have
Like
everything. And I think,
Superwoman. They need,
yeah,
yeah.
basically like Superwoman. And like on Twitter, you'll see that a lot. It's like I need a woman just like my mom because like she's done all these things, but in majority, a lot of women aren't like that. It's just what they like portray themselves to be because I think both genders are super vulnerable and girls growing up, they're like, I've seen what my mom has done. Like, I have to do that. I have to be like this. So they're trying to perfect themselves in order to be seen like as perfect in society's eyes. And same thing with men. They're like, okay, well, a woman who's like this is like she's gonna be perfect. Like I don't even have to like, you know.
But you can't expect that's dangerous because you can't expect
Yeah.
no woman is gonna amount to your mom,
Mm-hmm.
and you shouldn't want them to. Your mom is your mom, your girlfriend or
Exactly.
your wife is your
Mm-hmm.
partner, and they're gonna be different. I don't think they should be the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be different, and I think I don't know. I feel like you should be cooking and cleaning too, and I
Yeah.
think
Equal.
equal, and I think
50-50.
50-50, and I think don't expect your girl to like give you all this and like provide something. You need to bring something too to the table because if she's doing everything,
Then what are you? Yeah.
yeah, because then that I think that creates like unhappy relationships.
And
Like, oh,
unhealthy.
I'm fulfilled. She's doing everything. So happy wife, happy life, or happy me, happy life. But it's like no, make sure that she's good too, and also too. Oh, I should have asked you this earlier, but people say like, oh, you're my other half. Nobody should be your half.
No
You
one
should
should be
come
able to
whole.
have.
You should come whole, and the other person should come whole. Because if you need somebody to complete you, that's
That's
like
codependency. Like
yes,
never like never be like so dependent on the person to the point where like if they leave you don't know what you're going to do. Like I think that's just so sad, and a lot of time it has to do with like mental health issues and like things that they've got like experienced throughout their life and from like PTSD. But it's more like I really wish like especially my generation, I feel like a lot of younger people are like he has everything. Like I need him. He's the only one like who supports me, or she's the only one who supports me or has my back. Like don't like find friends, find hobbies, find not like find friends like me, but like friends that
yes,
you talk to, get some hobbies that will like improve your mental health. Like don't just lean all on one person because I feel like when you lean and there's gonna be like a straw that breaks the camel's back. Something's
yes.
gonna happen and it's gonna be like, I can't do this anymore. Like like
Like
you've been
it's
like
a
I've been supporting you all this time. Like I can't. And then what are you gonna do? I feel like it's a bunch of codependency.
yes, yes, and I think that's why like Jada Pinkett Smith, like she spoke about it on Red Table Talk, and people like to make fun of Will and Jada, but she spoke about how she felt that way, that Will was gonna complete her, and Will was gonna fulfill something in her, because she grew up not having her father in her life for very long, so she always had her guard up. And then he had a lot of childhood trauma. So he felt like, oh, I need to like have a grand wedding and buy a huge mansion and take her to Dubai and all these things to make her happy. Because then if she's happy, I'll be happy. You got two broken people expecting the other person to make them happy. That's a bad relationship waiting to
Yeah.
happen. That's a huge argument waiting to happen. So learning from that, and like she's had a whole bunch of episodes talking about that. I think it's important to note that, and don't have such high expectations of someone else. You can have high expectations of yourself, but make sure that you're doing your own work. You have your own interests, you have your own friends, and then when you come together with that person, they're they're doing their own work too, and they don't have high expectations of you. My next question: do women have high standards? 73% of people said yes, and 27% of people said no. Uh, I think
Mhm.
this may be a blanket statement, but I feel like women their standards are more so financial security.
Mm-hmm.
Women, I'll say women in my age group. It's more so financial security and height. That's what it seems like.
The two golden things.
The two golden things. And the financial security part, I get it. You want somebody who has a good job. Men like we're providers, and stereotypically in heterosexual relationships we're providers.
Mm-hmm.
So you want someone to take care of you, or just have that part good. And I get that. And then for men, I feel like our standards generally are like, she needs to look good. I always hear that, like, she got to look good. She got to look like this. Oh, you see her? Oh, I want a girl like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like a pretty face is not going to raise your kids. Like, her mind will,
I
And when you
think,
guys grow old, looks fade.
yeah, looks will
So
never forever.
never, like, black don't crack. Angela
But
Bassett looks amazing, but again, it's not her body, it's not her face that's going to raise your kid. It's her mind, morals, and values. That's important.
that's an
So
excellent point because
yeah,
I think a lot of the standards that we have are very superficial. Like what you're talking about, like the
yes,
height, like she has to look like this, she has to be built like this, or he has to like this, he has to be built like this. It's a lot of superficial standards. It's more they're on the surface level, just attractiveness and physicalness. But like, hello, personality wise, mentally wise, morally wise, like what are your standards for that? Because in where I grew up, right? I grew up in a PWI school, predominantly white place,
right.
and there would be a lot of girls who'd be like, "Oh yeah, I support all these causes," but their boyfriends, on the other hand, would not. And I would be like, so how can you say you're really down for the cause, but you're dating someone who has like not the same views as you, actually opposes the exact values of the views that you have? So I feel like maybe standards wise, they're like, oh yeah, he's so nice, or like he looks really good and he's tall, so I'm gonna be with him. And then on the flip side, she's like, she looks good, or like she goes to the gym this amount of times, or like she has nice hair, she smells nice, and then, you know, personality, morally wise, politically wise, like you're not
It's
connected with that.
terrible. No, yeah, I've met so many white girls in college who were like, "Oh yeah, like I'm totally down, and like Black Lives Matter, sure, yeah." Um, but their boyfriend is a Trump supporter, and I'm like, "What? Like, how do you? Doesn't make sense." Or I'll have friends where it's like, "Oh yeah, like I totally get it. Trump is bad, but like my parent, like I could never have you visit my hometown." I'm like, "What?" Or like my parents are racist. I couldn't be with somebody like that because while they
Why are
may
you
not be
putting me
racist,
in that dangerous position?
right? Because you're still close with your parents. So
Yeah,
eventually, I will go home for Thanksgiving, and what's gonna happen? I'm
it's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
end up
very
on the news.
awkward.
Like,
It's gonna be very awkward.
it's gonna be terrible. So yeah, I couldn't be with somebody. So yeah, we have to lower our standards, and I think we have to adjust them. Not lower, adjust our
Mhm.
standards, and just think about personality. If being funny is an important thing, make sure you're looking for a partner that makes you laugh. If it's intellectualism and reading books, make sure you find that. Social justice, I want a girl who is willing to march with me for
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter, and who is knowledgeable about racism and colorism and stuff like that. Like, oh, colorism, that doesn't exist anymore. I don't want a girl like
I
that.
know. Yeah, that's what I was saying with like the ethnicity and like dating outside your race and culture. Like much of those conversations are gonna be hard to talk. I'm willing to talk about them and like being like, heck, like this is what goes on. And and that's the same thing when you have friends of different cultures too. They might not know majority of things, and you talk about them and you learn about different things. But yeah, I completely agree with you. And as for the standards thing, I do think both genders have high standards, but it's different in what their standards are about. Some standards are like, okay, this, some standards are like that. But
No, yeah. I
I think we
remember
all need to just adjust.
we already took that. I remember somebody told me freshman year, oh, like you'd be perfect if you were just taller and a little bit more hood. I was like, what?
Someone said that to you
Yes, yes,
with a straight face, like clear conscience, just
yes. I forgot what we were talking about. I
that
forgot what we
reminds
were talking
me.
about. But
Oh my
yeah,
god, I had the same experience, but it was more like we would have been able to date, but like my friends thought that you would have been like really unclassy and like hood. It was basically just perpetuating a stereotype on me. It was like, so that's why, like, nothing ever worked out because I was scared that, my friends were feeding me this information. I was like, why? Like, why wouldn't you not? What's happening?
People, and we spoke about it a little earlier in the episode. People are losing out on great people, on great opportunities because of society bias, what their friends are thinking. Guys are like that, like, oh, what have you heard about this girl? How you think about this girl? Oh, I heard, and then it's like, oh, let me not. But it's like, no, those are rumors. I've heard so many rumors about women. And then I actually do some research. It's like, oh, you're calling her a HOE, but she's actually a virgin. So how is she a HOE? Like, doesn't make sense.
Sometimes my guy friends are like, nah, I heard this girl is like this. I'm like, you don't even know the girl. Who told you this? The man that she rejected? Probably.
Yes.
But like, women are kind of like that in a sense too, where it's like, oh, I heard like this about him, but like, I'm not going to ask him about it. Like, have these conversations. Be like, maybe not outright say like, hey, are you a HOE? Just be like, hey, like, I've heard this and third. Can you clear it up for me? Like, let's stop making assumptions.
Or talk to the person. Don't talk to your friends. Don't feed into society, BS. Actually have a conversation with the person and figure out for yourself, and then make the decision on, whatever. So I totally agree. The next question I asked my audience: does your partner need to be the same race or ethnicity as you? 91% of people said no. 9% of people said yes. So I think yeah, they pretty much agreed with you. Like, they're pretty open, and it makes sense because I saw somewhere on a article that by 2040 we're all gonna be like Hispanic, like something like that. I saw something like that, or like the majority of the country won't be white anymore. It'll be Latino, or it'll be mixed people. Like a lot of people will be interracial like in a couple of years. So it makes sense that my audience reflects that.
And I definitely agree. I think there's many interracial couples, we're gonna have babies. Like, sooner or later, like, everyone's gonna be mixed with something. I mean, right now we are. Like, I know a lot of people who have like 4 different ethnicities. Like, everyone.
No one's I feel like, well, I don't want to say no one, but most people aren't 100% one thing. So yeah, that makes sense. My next question: does your partner need to be the same religion as you? 66% of people said no. 34% of people said yes. How do you feel about that? Does your partner need to be the same religion or denomination of Christianity as you?
I feel like for me, it would be important that they are of the same denomination of Christianity as me, because I'm Catholic. So in Christianity, as you know, there's a bunch of Episcopalians, Baptists, all these things. Yeah, there's a lot. So, and we all have different core beliefs. So I feel like dating wise, maybe not yet, but when I start dating to marry or taking things more seriously, I will try to look for that, because I've always wanted to try to get married in the church. Right. And there are certain things that come with that, like pre-cana and stuff like that. But it's not that important to me. Like, if I end up marrying someone who's not the same faith to me, I don't think I'll really mind. Like, as long as we both practice our faiths, I don't think we should have to give up one faith completely for another person. I think it's more like interfaith, be together.
Right, and let your children decide what they want to do when they reach a certain age. Like, oh, I want to be what mom is, or I want to be what dad is. I like that. I think it gets tricky when you're with someone who has a completely if they're atheist, or if they're a completely different religion of you. Like, maybe like your partner is Muslim and you're Catholic. That might be a problem, because you may not want to wear a hijab, and he may not want to take the offering. So it's like you have to be careful, because sometimes it could be like a real deal breaker, and like, oh, I want you to be Muslim, well, I want you to be Christian, so I guess what are we gonna do?
What's so crazy though, because like Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, we're all people of the book. Like, essentially, like, if you break it down, we all believe in the same thing. True. It just differs. So, in terms of like what parts you want to take from like your religion, it would be really important to have like that conversation with your partner if you're thinking about settling down. But in the end, I truly believe like most religions are basically the same. Like, we believe in God. Like, in the underlying thing, it's like, you believe God, I believe in God. Okay.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I guess like the fundamental things are there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just maybe more so the little stuff is
Yeah.
different. Okay. Okay, I could see that. I could see that. And I guess maybe more so what I was suggesting maybe like if you're what's it called? Like if you're like if you're strict with your religion
Yeah.
and the other person is strict with their religion, then it probably won't work. But if you guys are
Mm-hmm.
more chill, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of more chill Christians in our age group and like millennials,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, oh, okay, like because I've heard Jewish people say like, oh, I'm culturally Jewish, but I'm not really religiously Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm dating someone who's Christian, but they're not like they don't take it that serious. I feel like we see that a lot.
Yeah, I see that all the time. Where, like people intermix their faiths, and at the end of the day, like they're like, she believes in God, I believe in God. So
Right. The
I
the
feel like,
fundamental stuff is
yeah,
there.
but I do feel like atheism, and then if you actually have the faith where you believe in God, I always wonder how that works. Like, what happens? Like, I just want to know. Like, if you are in a relationship like that, please like DM me. Like, I want to know. Like, is it awkward sometimes, or is it just like,
Or if one person is has a religion and the other person is dating someone that's atheist,
yeah,
yeah, comment down below how that's what that's like because to me I couldn't do it. Like like my faith is very important. Like if you it's a major part of my life because
mm-hmm.
what keeps me going, what motivates me like to get up another day after very hard days is God, is praying, is there's a higher force out there that has my back and that will take care of me and my family. So to be with someone that thinks that that's a joke or thinks that I'm delusional, that would be crazy. That would be kind of crazy. Like, I don't think I could deal with that
Unless they
unless
don't
you're the
like,
type of atheist where, oh, I don't believe in that, but I respect you and I
yeah,
may go to church with you, or I just respect you. Then maybe, but
yeah.
yeah. But don't think that I'm delusional because I believe in God.
I think it all comes down to just respecting each other's religions. Like, that's a honestly, that's a green flag for me. Like, if you're religious and you like are with someone who is of a different religion and you respect that, or like you respect other people's beliefs, thank you. Like, I don't think any like,
Yes, I never understood the like when you hate someone because of their religion. I don't know the word of that. I don't know the word of that right now.
yeah, I
But
don't know that word either.
like when
We're
you
like,
when you
yeah.
somebody will probably educate me. Well, this word, but
Mhm.
you know what? You guys know what I'm talking about. I never understood that. Like looking down on somebody because they practice
Yeah.
a different faith. I never understood that.
And it's so
So
hurtful, I feel like, because I have friends of all different religions. And like to like when they talk to me about it, like my Muslim friends are talking about Islamophobia, like it makes me like sick. Like, why are you hating someone because of their religion? Like you don't even know what their religion is about. You're just like pulling stuff out your like
I
you're
never
just
understood
saying
that.
random stuff. Yeah.
I never understood that. Or like, yeah, or, and like they have judgments about them, and
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I know, like just disrespect people because I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like you said, our religion, those three are very similar
Very
at their
similar.
core.
Mm-hmm.
It's they this person may wear a hijab, this person may have the head covering,
Ayamaka, I think
yeah,
it's called.
yarmulke, I think, and they have
Yeah.
Hanukkah, they have this thing, I have Christmas, but that's like little stuff. But our fundamental truths like treating
Mm-hmm.
people with respect, living a life like Christ,
Yeah.
that's we can all agree on that. And then finally, I asked my audience, does your partner need to have a good relationship with their parents? 55% of people said no, 45% of people said yes. How do you feel about that?
Relationship with their friends. So like I said before, I think it depends because some people they do go through like horrible things and their family is not kind to them and they've just
Right.
been through traumatic experiences. But I feel like if the person that I know, like if you told me about your life growing up and you have a good relationship with a lot of your family members, I think it's very sweet because I have many siblings and I'm the oldest. And
Okay.
if I know someone who you have siblings, like younger siblings, and you're the oldest too, and like you take them out, like they're like you don't let them sit in the house or you don't talk to them. It's kind of like a turn off for me. Like 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 engage with your siblings. Like they just want to hang out with you. Like it
Right.
took me a long time to realize, but like even though we have a big age gap, it's more like they just want to be with you. You know, they just want to
They
hang
just want
out.
to hang out,
You
you
can
know,
take them to the
and
park,
bond.
yeah, and they love it. So
10, but he's a 10 but or she's a 10 but is a trend that has gone viral on Twitter and TikTok. The trend is about giving a rating to someone who's a 10 out of 10 in attractiveness. So I'm gonna give Sylvie a couple of scenarios and she has to give her honest opinion. And feel free to ask me at the end if you want to do like she's a 10 but and ask my opinion. He's a 10 but can go the whole day without talking to you.
Cervantes, you're bringing back bad memories for me. Stop.
Okay,
I'm just
okay.
kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, 5, because like I said, like me, I have to honestly, because sometimes people might be going through something and I don't know. So
Okay.
maybe one day I don't mind, still a 10. But like if it's like 4 days, 3 days, nothing, then you're a 5. But one day, I don't think I would mind.
Okay. He's a 4 but has good music taste.
Yeah, I feel like good music taste is kind of subjective because you mean good music taste in general or like what I find like good music taste?
Hmm. Oh, that's a good question. Okay, you spun it back on me. Good question. Um. Oh, I don't. Okay. Good music taste to you.
Maybe a 6. I think
Okay.
if you like the same music as I do, that's great. But like, can music taste really just save you all the way? So
Right.
okay, 5.5. If I'm allowed to give like half points, 5.5.
Disclaimer, I just looked up he's a 10 scenarios and just
Mhm.
pulled like the funniest that I thought. I can't imagine what the other ones are. Like I think I saw one that he's a 3, but drives a nice car.
Okay.
Like some of them I noticed it was like what's the word? Like bare minimum.
Yeah. Like, have you seen the trend on like TikTok where you're like talking about like your friends like exes or like situationships and you're like very specific with it, like he's an 8, but like he took you out to McDonald's and only paid for the fries and left you for the like
Oh
it,
yeah, I
like
saw that. I think I saw Storm redo that. That was
it
funny.
was so funny.
He's a 10, but he has no ambition.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, guys. I like to believe in astrology. Okay, so my sun sign, I'm a Capricorn, and Capricorns
Okay.
are known to be very, very ambitious. Like I have already like have my game plan on where I see myself in 10 years, 5 years. So I feel like no ambition is like a turn off for me. Like you have no plans. Like if I ask you like what are you doing in the summer when you're like not in school and you're like probably just gonna chill. Like, damn, like you don't have anything. Like, at least say you want to go to Splish Splash or Six Flags. At least that's something.
Something
But nothing.
internship. You do freelance work somewhere. You going to trade school, like something. Yeah, for sure.
So I think
Hobbies.
you said he's a 10, but he has no ambition.
Yeah.
Probably have to give him like 6 or 7.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate Sylvie's honesty. I think some friends I would have on, I feel like they would be like, oh, like no, I'm willing to do it. But I appreciate Sylvie's honesty. He's a 6, but makes 6 figures.
He's a 6. To me, I mean, I will say money is important. Money does make the world go around. Like, if you want to do something, you need money, obviously. But like, where are you like? If we have the money, like, what you're just gonna spend it on me? Like, what's happening? Like, I don't think, and especially like I'm only like 19, so I don't feel like money right now is
Right.
that important to me. Where I'd be like, yeah, automatic boost jump. But so I will say like if he's a 6, make 6 figures, maybe like a 7. Like it's nice that you have like a job and you're getting money, and I appreciate that.
But you need to be
But
attracted to them.
I need to be attracted to them. And like, what if he's making 6 figures and he's a 6 and he has just a horrible personality? Like, what if he's just like a horrible person and he's making 6 figures and he's a 6? Like,
True.
I'm gonna name
True.
myself Michael B. Jordan, where you're a 10, making 6 figures, you're a nice person. I hope. Like,
Right. You don't want like a Wall Street
yeah,
a-hole.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good point. You're young, so what you want now isn't going to be what you want
Yeah.
in 8 years, maybe even 5 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. He's a 10, but he asks you to split the bill on the first date.
I made that face only because like I've just been thinking about like all my past like first dates and stuff. Where I'm like, but the first date, I don't mind splitting it for the first date. Like
Interesting.
we pay for what we get. I don't care. But like second, third, fourth, we're still splitting. Like really, like
Oh, I've heard the opposite from some friends. Like
really.
they want the guy to pay on the first date, and then they wouldn't mind paying maybe like on the third or like fourth. Yeah.
I think for me it's the opposite. Like, cause like the first date, you're still starting to get someone, and I personally I feel awkward, and people spend like money on me, especially if I don't know you. So I feel like the first date, I definitely want to split it. But like as we get into a relationship, I don't mind paying like if we go out one day, I don't mind paying for the both of us, and then
Okay.
I wouldn't mind you paying for the both of us either. Like I feel like it should be like equal. Like I'll pay for both of us like some nights, but as long as you pay for both of us some nights, because my pockets are not that fat. So
Right. I
yeah,
wouldn't mind paying on the first date. I wouldn't mind. But I think, and then some guys get very like, oh, like they just want our money. But it's like if you're going on a date, make
hmm
sure you have money to take this person out on a date. Like don't be too cheap to the point where it's like, oh, what are you
yeah.
ordering? Or like like don't
Oh no, I could not be something like that. Like, you sure you want to get that? Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure I want to get it.
right. Like get your bread up, get your money up and then go on a date with
I feel like
somebody.
sometimes it's a pride thing too. Like it's like I remember I would go on first dates and I'd be like, I don't worry, like I got it, and they'd be like, no, like they'd be like, please let me pay for you. I'd be like, all right, like if it's that bad, you pay. But I think it's a pride thing too. Like
Yeah, because we're taught that like treat your woman, take her out, be a provider. We're taught that from young. So I think that's where the pride comes from. But if you're in a relationship, I think it's okay for your girl to pay the date. But I
yeah,
think dating wise, I don't see a problem with girls who want the guy to pay on the first date. Yeah,
but
dating
don't
wise,
get me wrong, guys. I would still love if you guys paid for my food. Like I'm saying this for like
she's open to it.
I'm
She's
open to it. I won't stop you.
thank you so much. Those are all the questions. Is there anything you want to plug? You had a podcast that you teased a little bit. Is
Uh,
that coming?
yes. Okay. So it's with my best friend in the world, Maya. It's called Now Girl Podcast. We're getting the episodes together. It's
Awesome.
a bit of a background story about it. When I was in high school during the COVID-19 pandemic, I don't want to shout Tory Lanez out, but when he was doing quarantine radio and
Yes,
he had
yeah.
between, and Red Table Talk was at its height, and I was like, I would love to do something like that. So I used to do Instagram like talk shows with my friends, and like I would
I
start
did
it.
the same thing.
Yeah,
I called it quarantine combos with Cervantes. Yeah, that's so funny.
yeah. And I would just like people would come and we'd have a prompt, and then whoever wanted something to talk about it or say their opinions would be in the room with me, and it was just really fun. I used to get so many views, and people would be like, "Sylvie,
Wow.
this is great. Like, continue it." And then you know senior year hit, I was focused on college, and I was like, I really like doing that because I like that people were like, I'm glad you made this space where people can talk. It's okay if you have differing opinions. Like, I never made it get to the point, by the way, where it's like completely bashing something. Like, I do not stand for that. I have zero tolerance policy for hate, bullying, all that stuff. So I was
Right.
like, we could say your opinion, but don't take it too far. I'll kick you out. Like, don't think just because.
Right. No, yeah, on my podcast page, I just lifted it where it's like now people that I don't follow can comment. Because before I was
Mhm.
like, I don't want any like
Yeah,
randoms like commenting weird. Because I in the beginning I covered like very controversial, heavy
topics.
hitting
Yeah.
topics, and I was like, to be honest, I was a little scared to have the backlash. But I was like, you know what? I do want to hear what people are saying that don't follow me, like that can comment and whatever. I do want to hear what people saying because I do want to start a dialogue. But the reason
Mhm.
why I created the podcast was to create a safe space. We see so much like negative stuff on the internet
Yeah.
and negative podcast hosts and negative stuff. I want to be like a light to the community. Um, But yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah, so that's why like me and my friend talked about it. We're like, yeah, we want to do it so bad. So
That's
Now Girl
awesome.
podcast will be coming. I also want to like try to do one on my own too, like
Ooh, okay.
for college and stuff, like income professions, like let's have conversations. But like primarily, that's my not primarily, my first
Prime.
focus.
Okay.
Yeah, my primary focus. Got
Yes,
my words
yeah.
getting mixed up, but yeah, because
That's
I love
awesome.
my friend. My friend loves me. I feel like together we're just magnetic. So yeah,
We love
look
to
out for
see
that, guys.
it. We love to see it. I'm excited for that. And thank you so much for being on the podcast. Where can everyone follow you?
You can follow me on my Instagram at Sylvie Sylvie Grand, but it's GRXND because someone has the same name as me and decided to take my IG handle. So I have to switch it up. So you can definitely follow me on Instagram on that and follow the podcast, which is Now Girl, NOWGIRL podcast.
Yes, go check out the podcast coming soon. Follow the
Yeah.
Instagram, follow Sydney on Instagram. Awesome. Be sure to leave a rating for the Cervantes Podcast on
Yes.
Anchor, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Cervantes Podcast YouTube channel and click the notification bell up top so you're notified whenever I upload a new episode. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Cervantes.